All right, what's going on? What's happening? This is your golden dark dame, and I was attempting to do a live broadcast of this episode. However, due to technical reasons, not able to go live this time. However, everything else is pretty much the same as far as your ability to like this video. This is episode 27. So make sure that you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. And make sure that you contribute your thoughts and your comments in the comment section. So I want to know your thoughts about these topics I'm going to cover on episode 27 here. And also make sure that you follow my Instagram profile, which is Golden Dark Dame, GOLDNDARK_DAME. That's my IG handle. So make sure that you follow my IG profile so that you'll know in advance when I'm going to post the next episode. And so this is episode 27 once again. It's the final quarter of this year, right? Wrapping up 2023 is coming to a close here very soon. You got just a few months left, and boy, has it been an eventful year, right? Let me know if you agree or disagree. So on this episode, I'll be covering some updates and some new news on relationship statuses, as well as me being caught up on the Power Universe series, the spinoff Force. Finally caught up to speed, and I'll be talking about the episode from last week, which was episode 7. And also, I'll be covering, providing some insight on a new TV series that's on the OWN network, in case you haven't heard about it. So that's what I'll be talking about on this episode. And just as a reminder, anything stated are my opinions that I'm sharing and intended as being for entertainment purposes unless otherwise proven by way of the visuals. If I, list any receipts and identify anything that I post visually as receipts, that's how you know I'm stating facts. But otherwise, this is for your enjoyment and entertainment. So with that being said, here we are and here we go. So again, this year is like rounding up, and within the past week and a half, we got some updates that have, come out via social media, and in pop culture news in general in regards to marital statuses, I should say. So we all already know it's been very heavily covered as far as the apparent pending divorce of Jeezy and Jeannie Mai, right? But about a week or so ago, Jeannie Mai called herself breaking her silence as far as speaking on that matter. I guess she called herself having taken a break from talking about it, or providing any input about it from her perspective and her position in the matter, considering Jeezy is the one who has filed for a divorce, right? So I thought it was kind of interesting, and kind of also a contradiction to see that, again, she so-called was breaking her silence, or that she had taken a break. Like, that wasn't a very long break, if if a break at all. Like, she didn't take no break from commenting on that. She had been posting like within 24 hours after the news of Jeezy filing divorce from her initially broke, which at this point has been about 2.5 weeks ago. She was commenting on social media platforms, and so whatever so-called break that she caught herself taking from commenting. Like I said, it didn't last very long. I don't personally consider her having taken any break. Like, a pause is not equivalent to a break. A break is longer in duration. So in my opinion, she paused, but she didn't take no break from commenting. It's like, but that could easily be sized up to, be an attention seeking tactic on her part. Keywords make a difference when it comes to social media and gaining visibility, clicks, likes, etc. So she just, and honestly, I don't even know what the, you know, commentary is that she provided to end her so-called break from commenting and posting, because of the point that, for me, um, again, it's been so heavily covered that I got to the point where I was worn out from like hearing or seeing anything about it. So to me, it was like it didn't really make a difference. Oh, let me check out what she had to say now. Like, it's already, the topic in itself is already like beating a dead horse for it to be brought up any further, if you ask me. But that's just my personal stance about any information about their marital status. And then within the past, I want to say 48 to 72 hours, the more recent headline I saw was highlighting that Jeezy has, made direct or put out direct commentary or dialogue about the fact that he's filed divorce from her. And again, that's something else that, I didn't look into. I don't really have a personal interest nor emotional investment in seeing whatever it is that he is directly, stated around the action that he's taken to file. So, but that is what it is. And again, that's what he did a few weeks ago. And so they're both, I guess, call themselves clearing the air for whatever the matter is between them and what's going to happen, which is going to play out, and it remains to be seen. Maybe he'll change his mind, maybe he won't. Whichever way the chips may fall, we know that he filed for divorce from Jeannie Mai. They've only been married for just reaching the point of the 2-year mark, which doesn't even seem like that much time has passed, but very short marriage, and divorce is pending between the two of them. Now, new news as far as relationship statuses go that we found out also within the past handful of days or more has been in regards to Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. So, I was already aware as far as Jada Pinkett Smith's, I guess, promotion around her goes for about the past 2 months. I was aware that she was already scheduled, and it had already been marketed via social media that she was going to be doing a book tour for her latest called Worthy, and that was inclusive of her stopping in Baltimore, Maryland, which is where she's from. And that location was inclusive on her promotional book tour, right? So at this rate, that stop was 2 days ago, October the 18th, she was in Baltimore, right? However, I was already aware of that. And so again, within the past week and a half, news broke per media, per publication, that she was sharing the status of her marriage to Will Smith, being that they have been separated for the past 6 or 7 years. So yeah, that was may or may not have been surprising. No, let me correct myself by saying may or may not have been shocking to hear. Nonetheless, totally surprising to hear, right? Because, like, be honest in the comment section, who honestly would have speculated prior to that announcement that Jada and Will were have been leading separate lives, because that was inclusive commentary that came along with that news, that they have been living separate lives, like literally, right? So who would have guessed that? Like, be honest again in the comments if you would have thunk that. Put that in the comments, share that. I want to know. Because again, I don't think realistically anybody can say that they were not shocked by that news, right? Now we know that their marriage has had broad speculation around it, as far as whether or not they have an open marriage, and that conclusion was easily drawn by many just relative to seeing photographic images of either one of them, of Will, with some movie co-stars of his in the past, as well as Jada, as far as a co-star from one of the latest shows that she aired on, right? So it was already speculation, like, okay, both of them mess around with other people, that they've acted with, and kind of like, what's the situation with them, and bringing up those general type of questions that surround most relationships, most marriages anyway, which is, okay, why get married if somebody's going to cheat, and if somebody, there's speculation and accusation of somebody, cheating multiple times on multiple occasions, right? Why even get married? Why don't they get divorced? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? XYZ, right? So again, that was a shock. That was shocking news. And Jada Pinkett Smith was the one who broke it. So I think that with that being the case, that just reignited the fuel behind anybody who, had already become a non-fan of Jada Pinkett Smith as of the latest intel information that came out in regards to her situation that she had with August Alsina. And I just want to state this as a strong reminder, as it applies to anybody's negative thought process around Jada Pinkett Smith and, her status as far as being an unfaithful partner to her husband, right? Which is that Jada Pinkett Smith is not the one who made the announcement that she had involvement with August Alsina. August Alsina was the one who aired out the situation that he had with Jada. And I think that's something that a lot of people have definitely overlooked, just as far as Jada's announcement that she's made within this past week or so, right? Because people are talking about Jada as far as, okay, she's in a constant pattern of disrespecting and demeaning her husband, Will Smith. That's what a lot of people have commented, right? But again, that's very easy to say and very easy as far as finger pointing goes. You gotta look at both parties though. And for me, my personal assessment around both Jada and Will is this. What about, again, the accusation around Will Smith, the speculation around him, having messed around with former movie co-stars of his. And remember, the most recent news about him that I saw, as far as cheating speculations go, was between him and some young girl, him and some 20-some-year-old girl, right? With images and messaging indicating that they had, intimate involvement, right? And that's just been that was just something that I want to say got aired out within the last, 3 years. But people are taking the stance again to want to jump straight on Jada and paint Will Smith out to be some defenseless, helpless, sympathy worthy husband, man, male, right? And it's like, that's not even fair. It's not even fair consideration to make when assessing their marriage, right? So for anybody to want to assess their marriage, it's like, you gotta be fair. You gotta look at the history and the news around both individuals, not just Jada. Not just because the most recent cheating speculation, is connected to her. No, you gotta look at Will Smith's history too. So, that's just been annoying me within these past few days of people jumping on the Jada Pinkett Smith hate bandwagon. For me, it just brings up the thought, like, FOH, fuck out of here. You see what I mean? Like, Jada, I don't think nor feel that Jada Pinkett Smith is a harlot. I don't think she's, trying to tear down Will Smith to the degree that a lot of people, have created dialogue saying that she has, from their opinions. I don't agree with that. I don't think that about her. My personal thought process about this recent, news that she's brought up and sharing the fact that they've been separated for the past 6 or 7 years is this. And this is going to be the briefest part. This is going to be my summary about the two of them and their relationship status is this. Based on some, exact quotes that I read that she made from recent interviews that she did prior to her book tour stop in Baltimore, some quotes by Jada Pinkett Smith give me the inclination of this. What if it's the case that Jada Pinkett Smith is, I want to call it, emotionally victimized? What if that's the state that she has lived in even prior to marrying Will Smith? Has anybody considered that about Jada Pinkett? And as far as, the potential and so-called motivation of hers towards her husband, as far as, her behaviors and her comments to the press, what if that's the foundation of her doing whatever she does and has done in regards to her husband? Has anybody considered that? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Again, share your thoughts throughout. I want to know, am I the only one who's thinking that? Am I the only one who might, be able to garner that Jada Smith, again, is an emotional victim and that she is still within a struggle of trying to navigate through that? Because, again, let's have a realistic view. What do we know about Will Smith's relationship history, like, in depth? Do we know equal to or greater than about his compared to Jada Smith's? Because, again, there's this, there's been this magnifying glass set on Jada Pinkett Smith. And the bigger picture around that I can see is part of the agenda to demonize Black women in general. And definitely demonizing Black women who are public figures and who are featured in the media, right? If you can recognize and realize that that is a thing, that agenda is a thing, then it should help to gain a better understanding and again, assessment that, like, don't be so quick to jump on Jada like Will Smith is a helpless victim and she's been taking advantage of him or forcing him to stay with her or something, just anything that's ridiculous. Like, now, to wrap that topic up about the Smiths, I'll say this. Nobody is forced to get married. And from what I know, from my knowledge of it, also, nobody is forced to remain married. So with that being the case, they're still married. They've had a prolonged or lengthy rather separation that is ongoing. However, legally and technically, they are still married to each other. And therefore, for anybody, I feel sorry for Will Smith. For what? We're talking about two consenting adults who agreed to a marital union, right? And it may only take one person to not want to remain in such, but what do we know about their status? Has anybody heard or seen Will Smith say, I want to divorce Jada, but I can't? Or I want to divorce Jada, but I fear for my life if I try to. So again, if we're going to have a magnifying glass stuck on something, stick it on the relationship on both sides, not just on one single side, not just on one individual among the two individuals that create a relationship and that create a marriage. Okay? Now, next topic is pertaining to what's on the TV. And I can say that, this is at a point, I guess, in the TV broadcast season where it's become kind of boring for me personally to watch. Granted, I don't watch that much mainstream TV, and I definitely don't watch much real-time TV series broadcasts. Most, if not all of what I watch is like on demand time, technically speaking. So that being said, I do want to talk about what I have been watching and, which also pertains to relationships. So there's a new series on the OWN network, and we could say it's a continuation of Ready to Love, because the season of Ready to Love in Dallas, Texas just concluded. Their reunion, second part of their reunion, just concluded about 2 weeks ago. And so now we have a spinoff of Ready to Love, because the title of the show includes the title Ready to Love. So this new series is called Ready to Love, Make a Move. And at first I was kind of thrown by the fact that Ready to Love is inclusive in the title of this brand new show. However, I totally understand now why it is. And that's because of who Make a Move is featuring. So Make a Move is featuring 4 women who were previously, or who have been on seasons of Ready to Love throughout various seasons of that series, right? And so ultimately it's giving for these women who've been on various seasons of Ready to Love a second chance as far as, reality TV documentation goes. And so Make a Move has chosen to feature the previous participants, who are Vernisha, Ashley, which she was on season 1 or 2, Sharice, who was on more recent season, that was one of the seasons in Miami, and Nakia, and she was on one of the seasons that was in DC. And also that's a more recent season that aired. So these 4, again, they're getting a second chance to be followed and to be tracked as far as pursuing romantic relationships go. And so the first episode just aired last week, and it's inclusive of another reality TV show participant who at this point is labeled as a relationship coach, and I cannot tell you what her name is because it's not coming to me in this moment. However, this woman was on the reality TV show Southern Charm, and that was the series that was New Orleans. So you got Southern Charm. There was a white version, white season, and then another season / version, which again, Southern Charm, New Orleans. I think that's the actual title of it. So this woman was on Southern Charm, New Orleans, and that series only had 1 season, if I recall correctly. So she was featured on there, and she's the relationship coach who is helping to guide Ashley, Vernisha, Nakia, and Sharice. And so what they're doing is they go through a series of selecting various men to go out on dates with. And by the end of their selection and dating processes, they will decide if they've met and established any associations or relationships with any one of these men, which ultimately they will have to choose one, and determine if that man is worth them making a move to reside with in New Orleans, because that's where the show is taking place at. And upon watching the first episode, the premiere episode last week, if I'm going to make a determination on it, I'm not sure if it's worth watching to the halfway point. Not for me anyway. I do intend on watching the episode coming on tonight, because it will be episode number 2. I believe in, giving any series the opportunity to pan out so you can see literally how the format or the storyline of it pans out. You got to give it a moment to settle, because the first episode is literally the jump off of it, and by episode 3, sometimes even by episode 4, it should be settled as far as the clarity on whatever sequence is intended for a viewer to see and understand. Right? So that's how I'm assessing Make a Move. And I didn't like how the relationship coach, I don't know, maybe it's the editing. Maybe it's a continuation of poor editing stemming from the poor editing on Ready to Love, right? But I didn't like how they showed the relationship coach telling the participants, the women participants from Ready to Love, that, okay, we're going to bring in 20 men for you all. They show the men come in, to the outside courtyard of the house that the women are living in, right? Their housing quarters. So they show these 20 men, come in, and they literally just, take position standing, right? And then the next thing is the relationship coach telling the women, so you're going to choose one man right now that you want to have a date with. Okay, but what is the selection criteria that they already have to help them pick a man that they want to have their first date with? Because from what you can see on that episode, there wasn't any criteria. It was zero. So we just, from viewers' perspective, the women just have to randomly pick a guy that's just present. Like, did any of the men have to speak? Did any of the men have to introduce themselves prior to the woman, a woman making her choices? And I did not like that whatsoever. To me, that was so like corner cutting. It was so impromptu, and it just gave me a sense of the remainder of the women's dating process appearing to be like it's going to be a shortchanging and cheated opportunity. Because if I was one of the 4 women participants, I would have been very irritated by that. How you going to tell me to choose one of these 20 and I don't even know what the hell any of them sound like? I don't even know what any of their speaking voice sounds like. Can I at least get their name, age, occupation first before I choose one of them, like, to go on a date with? Like, what the hell? So ultimately, it's giving, okay, this is going to be, again, like, just what I will consider to be a process that does not include vetting, for one, and number 2, a flawed process for dating, just as Ready to Love has been and has continued to be over every season that show has been on the air. But recognize, this is some of the same production from Ready to Love that created Make a Move. So again, what do you expect? If anything, things not necessarily going to get better before they get worse. And so I also want to include, in talking about this new series, Make a Move, which was just rumors that I've seen people comment making, because prior to this latest season of Ready to Love, the first of which airing in Houston, Texas, there were already rumors proceeding that were saying that, oh, Ready to Love is gonna their next city is gonna be New Orleans, right? But again, that those rumors were out before any promotion or announcement of Ready to Love going to Houston next. That's ultimately where they went next, right? And so, because we've only seen one season of Ready to Love in Houston, and usually every city that the show airs in gets 2 seasons per city, right? But like I said, season 1 in Houston just wrapped up. What about a season 2 in Houston? Because again, they've cut to a new series, this new series, and it's in a different city. So I wonder what the deal is with that. And my personal speculation around that being the case is this: maybe, the originating series, Ready to Love, is on its way out the door as far as it's no longer going to air, possibly after Make a Move. So, again, that's my own personal speculation. That's my own personal assessment from the basis of, again, Ready to Love being on a downslope as far as the quality of that program. And a lot of commentary on social media, had commenters and viewers expressing that this season of Ready to Love that just finished has been the worst season ever of it, right? So if that's resounding, and if that has been proven, which apparently it was proven as far as the ratings went, the level of viewership went, then again, it just might be the case that Ready to Love is about to be done and over with as far as airing. And if you ask me, yeah, it's about that time, because nothing got revamped as far as the process on that show for those participants. And it became what I will say, it became a mockery of dating for the people of color, obviously, who have been featured, right? The show, the foundation of the show is people of color, black folks, were all the participants. So that's a mockery. Like, how many couples have resulted from these 8 or 9 seasons of Ready to Love and are still current to date? Just one couple to date. As of October 20th, 2023, one couple that consists of participants that aired on Ready to Love got together, like actually coupled up from the same season. Let me let me add these factors. Let me include all these necessary factors to make it very clear. Okay. Mario and Reva. I don't remember which season they were on, but they were on the same season. Okay. And they are the only individuals who were on the same season that coupled up immediately, either during or following their season that they were featured on airing. Just them. They're it. No other couples have that same status from Ready to Love. And again, I think that's a mockery. Like, and I've said it on previous episodes, so I'm kind of like a broken record by saying this. People watching, a show like Ready to Love, like, want to see black love, want to see that come to fruition. We want to see the process of that and see it come to fruition, and we want to see that last. And Ready to Love has not helped that occur. And with every season, you got people who might start watching it, and that's the expectation that they have either from the start of watching or partway into the season, and then they get to see what prior viewers already have seen and already know about the show, which is, okay, this is some junk. Like, this is not the people participating. Most of them, what's being shown of them is they're not real. Like, they're not really there for a relationship, not anything serious, not anything long term. And like, and again, it's just the process of the show. It has just been trash. So anyway, again, it looks like it's going to be a very strong continuation of that on Make a Move. But if you want to check it out, go ahead and check it out. It's on the OWN network, just like Ready to Love is. And if you wanted any idea of how bad Ready to Love became up to current, check out the season that just concluded. I believe it's season 8. But just know that it's the season in Houston, Texas, and it's a single season in Houston, Texas, not 2. Don't know if they're going to have a part 2 of it in Houston or not. Kind of hope that they don't, but that remains to be seen, right? Now, rounding out this episode, again, here is what I have to say with now being current on what pertains to Power Universe, because remember, I am self-proclaimed #1 DC Power Universe fan, all right? Don't forget about that. Never forget about that. Comment if you are a fan of Power Universe like me. If you miss the originating series Power, if you like or love any of the spinoffs from Power, which will be Power Book 2 Ghosts, Power Book 3 Raising Kanan, and the current spinoff airing, which is Power Book 4 Force. If you like or love any of those series, any of these spinoffs, put your comments, put a heart in the comment section so I see how many fellow Power Universe fans are out here, right? And something that's relative to my Power Universe fandom is this. Just a few weeks ago, I finally got to encounter my birthday twin, who happens to be, guess who? He's a character who was brought in to the last 1 or 2 seasons of Power, and that would be the character Governor Tate. In real life, Lorenz Tate. That's my birthday twin, and like I said, I got to interact with him a few weeks ago. He was in my city, and it was by chance that I got to interact with him. So that was pretty invigorating. I didn't have the opportunity to ask him anything about this show, but again, on a baseline level, I was happy that of the fact that I finally, after so much time, I got to meet my birthday twin. We do have the same birth date, same birthday, not the same year, but the same birthday. So yeah, and his response was acknowledging that. He said, yeah, he said Virgo Nation. So I liked that response from him. Though unexpected and brief, it was like, oh yes, finally. So anyway, bringing my review up to speed for the current time frame for Book 4 Force. So this is the spinoff that highlights the character Tommy Egan. And so I'm caught up to last week's episode, which was episode 7, season 2, episode 7. So that's the point from which I'm reviewing now. So this is what's funny to me, because it took a minute for me to reach this point. I didn't start watching, as soon as this season started airing, but I did binge watch up to, for the most part, I binge watched up to being current now. Tonight, episode 8 is coming on. So again, I'm reviewing from the point of episode 7, which was last week, right? So this is my assessment. And it's so funny because just within the past few days, I was seeing commentary from other viewers popping up, right? Which I had kind of forgotten about a little bit, having exposure to. But that started popping up, right? And it's hilarious. It was so funny to me. So, if you pay attention to the imagery associated with me posting about this episode 27 that you're listening to, you can see what I mean. Like commentary about the characters Diamond, about the characters Jannard, the character Shanti. It's funny. It's so funny, right? So if you haven't been watching, get like me. Make sure you catch up. Comments pertaining to what's her name? Claudia, the character Claudia. It's funny because I got to see that, there are viewers commenting who have similar thought process to me, and some who have surprising thought processes about some of these characters that didn't dawn on me until I read their posted opinions, right? So one of which being in regards to the character Shanti. So Shanti is like the boxing coach that starting off, we saw her in the boxing gym, again, coaching folks, training folks, guiding folks, right? And so she happens to be already associated with the family that Jannard and Diamond stem from, because Jannard and Diamond are brothers, right? But she has a more direct, she has association with between both of them equally from the start. Okay, so what ends up happening, and again, I'm assessing this just to bring it up to the status of what occurred in episode 7. But what ended up happening was we see a quick transition of the involvement and interaction of her character as it pertains to mostly Jannard. Because in this second season of Force, the character Jannard, he becomes like strung out. He starts to get high on his own supply, as they say. And, that's a rule of thumb to never allow happening. But somehow, that's what has become of Jannard in this second season. And so, we see a slow progression, well, I should say a continuation of that happening by Jannard, and a progression of him losing his grip. Because remember, from the end of season 1, he made it a point, an objective to separate from his brother, his big brother Diamond, which, remember, Diamond is an ex-con, right? So anyhow, Jannard is losing his grip, and now going back to Shanti, between the start of season 2 and again up to episode 7, we have seen, or they have shown us rather, Shanti, she goes from, like I said, just knowing Jannard and Diamond to she started pushing up on Jannard, showing direct and clear intimate interest in Jannard for some reason. And so up to, last week's episode, they're to the point where, they're a couple. However, because Jannard is unraveling by way of his addiction to his own supply and losing grip and control over his, soldiers, so to speak, that are working for him, Shanti has recognized that. She started hearing about it. And also, again, due to Jannard's addiction, he's become a thief. And that's inclusive of him stealing from Shanti. Like, he stole a chain of hers, a boxing chain of hers. Which was funny to me, as if she wasn't going to recognize that chain missing. Like, the chain is a boxing glove. And he stole her chain. So she checks him. Shanti checks Jannard about that after the fact. She didn't see him when he did it, but when she noticed, like I said, that her stuff was missing, she made, again, a clear point of distinction to check him, size him up and check his ass, and let him know, like, dude, you're not about to cross me. Like, clearly, like, they've been intimate. So the presumption strongly is that, okay, we're together. So how the F, and this is my own commentary, how the F is you stealing from the chick that you now like laying up with? Like, I guess that's a regular standard of an addict. But what do I know? This is TV, but I do know that art imitates life. So anyway, she checks him. Shanti checks Jannard about that. She also was checking him about, again, recognizing that he's addicted, because she was actually questioning him about that between episodes, from what I recall, between episodes, possibly since episodes 4 through 6. Some point within there, she was speculating that he's a user, right? So when she noticed her chain is missing, she knows for sure, like, yeah, that her inclination about Jannard was accurate. So when she confronts him, it's more than just a confrontation. She's also letting him know that, she is his support, and she's including words of encouragement, because by this point, Diamond has already come to Shanti, not only letting her know that he's aware of Shanti's involvement with his brother Jannard, but also giving her a heads up, so to speak, as far as the developments of the changes that are occurring in process for Diamond and Tommy seeking to, claim more territories, because what just happened on episode 6 was the father, Walter Flynn, what are they, Irish? The Irish father, Walter Flynn, he got taken out by his son Vic. And that occurred stemming from Vic's sister, Walter's daughter, Claudia, by happenstance almost setting up for Vic to be taken out along with their father, Walter, because Claudia and Vic had made a plan, like, yeah, we gotta get Dad out of here, Da, as they call him in their native accent, Da. We gotta take him out, because Vic is still spiting his father over the fact that his father put a hit out on him and his girlfriend, Gloria. But Vic survived that. Gloria didn't. And so Vic remains heartbroken and, vengeful. And Claudia is just still generally mad at Walter just for still treating her like she's not deserving of, having an active or more prominent, rather, role in their operations, family operations and business, drug business. So again, they come together and decide we gotta see to it that Dad is no longer breathing. So within that plan, while that plan was about to be embarked upon, again, Claudia saw an opening, a literal opening or proverbial opening for Vic to be taken out as well, right? And who would have thunk it? Because I was surprised to see her take that stance. So when she noticed that opportunity for Vic to go too, that made it clear that she was in the thought process of she wants to take over as much as possible, right? So clearly she made a judgment call, like, fuck it, take my brother out along with my dad, kill two birds with one stone. But it didn't work out as Claudia thought the plan would follow through. And subsequently, Vic survived, and simultaneously, he became the one to ultimately take the life of their father, Walter. So now Vic is still standing. He finds out that Claudia set him up for him to go down and be taken out right along with their dad, right? So because he found that out, and then when the inheritance from their father got announced to both of them, everyone finds out that Claudia's not receiving anything. She was not written into Walter's will to receive shit, like nada, down to the point that she's supposed to, I'm presuming it was intended, she's supposed to get kicked out the house, because ultimately the family home was passed on to Vic. Again, not inclusive of her being provided with any property, to inherit. So, and then after that was announced to both of them, Vic and Claudia had a one-on-one conversation, which included him informing her Vic's awareness that she wanted him to be taken out right along with their dad. And so he tells Claudia that he's ostracizing her. Now, my personal opinion is that he should have held his tongue. He literally should have sat on his timing of doing that. I really wish he would have waited out telling her that. He should have sprung that on Claudia as a bigger surprise and at a later point in time than he did. But either way, that's when he did what he did. He let her know. Because she's, clearly she is feeling assed out by receiving this news that she is not within her dad's inheritance. And then for Vic to pile on to that and tell her, like, yeah, I know you tried to have me, like, taken out too. I'm done with you. We ain't got no dealings. You know, good luck making it on your own, blah, 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 right? But again, I really wish he would have strategized the timing of giving her that treatment. So because he didn't, now Claudia, she still obviously still has maintained the mentality. I'm gonna do what I can. Now she's in more of a dire straits position as far as operations go. But it puzzled me as far as the remainder of what is shown visually as far as where she's staying at. Because from what I can tell, I mean, and let me know, anybody else who's watching, any other viewers of Force, where is she staying at? When we see scenes of her in a household, you know, in a residential setting, is she not still in the same like dwelling that we've previously seen her in with Vic, you know, with their dad? To me, that's the feel that it's continuing to give. Now, granted, their family home is, I'm confident, is supposed to be perceived as being a mansion. At minimum, it's definitely, you know, like a large home. So we don't know how many different rooms are within the family home. But again, and however, to me, when they show her in episode 7, still like I said, because a friend of hers comes into town, and this woman is a former classmate of hers, right? So when they show the scenes of Claudia and her old classmate in non-public settings, that's giving me, again, a visual sense that, okay, she's in a house. Claudia's in a house. She's in her house. They're in Claudia's house. But where is this house? Because is she not supposed to be able to remain in the family home? So the question is, what house is it that we see Claudia in? What house is it that we see Claudia and her old classmate speaking to each other in, chilling in, kissing each other in? You know, because this is what they ultimately end up doing about halfway through episode 7. Right? And so this is giving us clarity that Claudia's former classmate, you know, is a lesbian at minimum. And so, again, to me, it's kind of, okay, wait, what happened with Vic ostracizing Claudia? Because the question is, where the hell is she staying at? Like, what house is she in? It seems to me that she is still within a family home. So again, anybody, please comment and let me know where you think Claudia actually is in those scenes where we see her in a residential setting. Because to me, it seems like she's still within the family home. And she ain't supposed to be. Clearly, it would be totally uncomfortable for her to still be coming in and out the family home when Vic directly told her he's ostracizing her. So where the hell is she staying at? Whose house is she in? Because we didn't get to see her make any transition as far as households go, change of address goes. So we don't know where she's staying. And maybe that distinction will be made on tonight's episode, which is episode 8. So I'll have my eyes open for that. But yeah, aside from that, again, it humored me to see criticism of the other characters on Force, right? And of this spinoff as a whole, of Force as a whole, right? Because I said it obviously on previous episodes when I first started reviewing Force. You know, definitely as of season 1, it's like, it didn't give. It didn't give. Now, we're more than halfway through season 2 of it. And I'll give it credit, because I always give credit where credit is due. As of episode 4, I was looking at Force like, okay, it's picking up. It's doing a little bit better at this point in time compared to what season 1 gave, right? And so because last week's episode was episode 7, it's got some steam going to it, especially due to how episode 7 concluded. And that was with Vic being on the verge of being caught for his voluntary position as an informant to the cops / the FBI, right? So Vic and Tommy had just pulled off, a job. I forget on who, but they had just pulled off a shooting. They had some targets. They took some targets down, right? And they had just parted ways. They had just parted ways, rather. And so Vic gets out of Tommy's car. He's playing everything cool and all this. And but the thing about it was, literally around the corner from where Vic and Tommy parted ways was a cop waiting for Vic to meet him. And when I saw that, I was personally irritated as fuck. I was like, what the hell? And why the hell is he out there right now and that close to where Tommy is dropping him off? Like, that made me so, kind of angry even. I was pissed. I was so ticked off to see that. Because it's like, what bird brain ass move is this that this cop is making? It's like, does he want Vic to get caught? It was so ridiculous. So what ended up happening was Tommy drives off, but he doesn't drive too far. He kind of ends up driving in a circle almost. And he recognizes that there's some idle vehicle parked nearby where he had just driven from, right? And he figures that it's obviously somebody spying, right? That's a reasonable assumption that Tommy makes by seeing this car. Unrecognized car. And so next we see Vic again walking around the corner to meet up with the cop who's posted up outside the vehicle and away from the vehicle waiting for Vic. So Vic sees the cop, so they start to engage. They're talking, and Vic off the top is like, dude, why is you right here? Why you same thought I had, which is, why you forcing me to meet with you right fucking here in this area, right fucking here, right fucking now? What is this? Aside from some dumbass shit, right? Stupid ass move. And so the cop tells Vic, he's like, well, whatever the head, lieutenant's name, what is her character's name? Marks, her last name is Marks. The black woman, as far as at the police precinct. Lieutenant Marks, again, whatever her actual role in the police department is. The cop tells Vic, Lieutenant Marks, she said she want to update ASAP. That's why I'm out here. Well, guess what? Now my anger shifted from him to her, because again, the stupidity in that decision-making process, she's the source of it. She's in charge. So why would she have the lower ranking cop go out there again at that time and at that place? That was unnecessary, and it was such a dumb move. So the cop tells Vic, I'm here because of Lieutenant Marks. She said she need an update as soon as possible. She want to update right now. Clearly, Lieutenant Marks is pressed as fuck, and she has positioned things to where Vic and his informant capability is being micromanaged. Again, dumbass move. You know what I'm saying? She's operating on a schedule of impatience and fear of her own work position. So she's just overly pressed. Anyway, seconds later, we see Tommy pop up with his gun drawn because he has spotted the two of them, Vic and this cop, engaging. And he's like, okay, what the hell is this? Right? So both the cop and Vic, hands up. And so Tommy confronts Vic. Like, Vic, what is this shit? What's going on with you? What's going on? Why are you talking to this cop? Like, are you snitching? He automatically speculates that Vic is, a turncoat. And so Vic denies that to Tommy. And he's like, no, I ain't no snitch. He had the right timing for his answers. And so Tommy's like, no, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. First, Tommy asks Vic, do you know who this is that you're engaging with? Because Tommy had noticed the cop earlier in the episode around the way in the geographic vicinity from where Tommy and Vic had a conversation standing outside. And Tommy noticed the cop parked. And he could kind of tell, again, natural speculation, we being watched. At a minimum, he knew that this was somebody that was watching him. He felt that this was somebody that was watching him. So clearly he recognizes the cop now that he sees he and Vic engaging. So he first asks Vic, do you know this guy? And Vic was like, no, I don't know him. Do you know him? Then Tommy brings up the question, are you snitching? Vic, nah, I ain't snitching. Da-da-da. The next immediate thing is Tommy telling Vic, is in so many words, prove it. Tommy tells Vic, okay, if you ain't snitching, shoot this dude. In reference to Vic shooting the cop. That's what Tommy tells Vic. And, we see a close-up, a zoom in on Vic. He has to continue thinking on his feet right now. What is he going to do? Because he's being provided an opportunity. How is he going to navigate this opportunity? He's either going to pull out his gun and shoot the cop, or he's gonna shoot at Tommy, right? But you gotta make that choice right now. You wasn't even expecting to get caught, but you caught. So what you gonna do? How you gonna navigate this shit? Like, what's really gonna happen here? So we see the motion of, Vic moving, because we're still zoomed in on his face. And then we see him pointing his gun. And by this point, I'm figuring, okay, he's not bold enough to shoot Tommy. And realistically, he shouldn't / cannot shoot Tommy because, he volunteered to tell on Tommy. So he has to keep Tommy alive in order to have information to feed to the cops so that Vic can get what he's seeking, which is immunity and, a literal way out. Because he wants to get out of the drug game now. He wants a clean slate. He wants to start anew because his dad is dead now. He knows his sister wanted him taken out. And he's been able to inherit everything, that his dad had asset-wise. So he wants to get away from everything and everybody that's been existing. So he can't realistically point his gun at Tommy. So when he pulls out his gun, he points it at the cop. And we have maybe 2 to 3 seconds. The cop reacts and he's like, I know you don't have to do this. Next thing you know, bullet to his head. Vic had to do that. He had to do that. And, just from, a complete viewer's perspective, Vic had to do that. And, as sad as it was to see that happen to the character of that cop, it was pretty much like, It was justified though. Why? Because again, of that cop's boss, Lieutenant Marks, and her micromanaging approach. If she wouldn't have been so doggone pressed, then she would not have sent that cop out there at that time and at that place to scrutinize and keep a closer than a bird's eye view on Vic and Tommy. Like, again, that was, I repeat, that was just an unnecessary decision. And so that is what resulted, though, in that cop losing his life. And again, unfortunately, that's what happened, though. It had to happen. Like, that was the better choice, the better decision for Vic to have made, and that's the choice that he made. So, it's like, dang, he had to do it, though. So, yeah. And so, that's how this episode concluded. And, you know, while the credits to it were rolling, though, my thought was, okay, but wait a minute, though. Because, you know, I'm summarizing the whole episode as a whole. And so my biggest assessment was this. Wait a minute. We know that Tommy saw that cop at the beginning of the episode and saw that cop was scoping he and Vic out, right? So even though Tommy put Vic on the spot, as far as, like I said, forcing Vic to make a choice and prove that he is not a snitch to the cops, Tommy pointed out to Vic that same cop when Tommy noticed that cop at the beginning of the episode. So Tommy knows that Vic knows what this cop looked like, you know, as far as visually, a black male. Tommy didn't know for certain that this black male was an actual cop. That is a presumption that Tommy made upon noticing this cop being parked on a corner block away from where Tommy and Vic had been. Right? Because Tommy noticed this cop when the cop was looking down in between, I don't know, adding film to his camera or whatever the fuck, right? And the irony, I want to point this out too, definitely. The irony behind Vic shooting that cop instead of trying to shoot Tommy was this. Because I think it was at the conclusion or else halfway through episode 6 when Vic started moaning and complaining to the cops about, like, dang, y'all, what? You want me to do this? You want me to do that? It really don't work like that as far as, you know, the sequence of you telling me I have to give you information. Like, I can't give you what I don't have yet. And the cops could tell that Vic was holding back on being totally transparent with answering the questions they were asking him. However, Vic's reaction was griping to the cops and telling them, like, y'all gonna get me hemmed up, get me killed. Like, the way y'all trying to press me. And so that was followed by the cop telling Vic, because Vic had actually somewhat confronted that cop about, like, how closely he was scrutinizing Vic. Vic told that cop in verbal confrontation, he's like, man, like, I need you to let up some on me. And the cop said to Vic, again, per episode 6, somewhere within episode 6, the cop said to Vic, you're just gonna have to trust that I know what I'm doing. You're just gonna have to trust that I know how to do my job. That's the biggest ironic aspect behind Vic being in a position to end up ending this cop. You know, it's like, what's up with the micromanagement? Like, come on, dude. And I will go even further to say this about that cop. Because even though his boss, Lieutenant Marks, sent the cop out there to trail Vic, that cop should have had more, what's the word I want to say? That cop should have had a stronger inclination to not post up to meet Vic in the geographic spot that he was actually waiting for Vic to come and meet him at. That cop should have positioned himself in a whole different area, like realistically speaking, and more smartly speaking. Because if he would have done that, Vic never would have been in a position to where he ended up having to shoot him. And Tommy would not likely have even caught them interacting, right? So not only did that cop do it to himself, his boss, Lieutenant Marks, also did that to that cop. So I have a little higher anticipation about watching episode 8, which again at this point has aired tonight. So I'll be catching up on that very shortly here. And yeah, that's the status though with book 4, Force. And again, tonight episode 8 is out, and we're gonna see how things forge forward as far as how is Lieutenant Marks going to approach Vic now when she notices that, you know, her cop is silent because he dead. You know, how's she gonna navigate toward her management of Vic as an informant when she finds out that, again, the cop is gone. We want to see how Tommy is going to interact with Vic going forward. Is Tommy going to let Vic know that he has any inclination, you know, let me rephrase. Is Tommy going to connect the dots that I already stated as far as remembering and realizing that when he noticed that cop parked a block away and felt like he and Vic were being watched, that he pointed that shit out to Vic? Is Tommy going to confront Vic about that as a means of letting Vic know that he's going to watch Vic with scrutiny now? Is that going to happen? Another thing is, what is going to be the progression of the new association that also just occurred in episode 7 between Claudia and Shanti, and their initial agreement to become partners as far as operations go and distribution operations go? Because at the end of episode 7, we saw that Claudia's old classmate, which, you know, they shared a kiss because she's pushing up on Claudia, letting Claudia know, like, I can be here for you. Like, she has money. And clearly, you know, she's only in the presence of Claudia now because Claudia's in a tough spot. Again, she's got ostracized from her family. So she's pretty much at a point of starting anew, in a sense. So anyway, her old classmate is pushing up on her, expressing to Claudia, like, I can be here for you, / you know, I can step in and be that support you need, But Claudia and Shanti, again, are seemingly embarking on what they are wanting to pursue as a partnership to distribute. And so Claudia has made a very small indication of this matter known to her former classmate, but now her classmate is talking like she wants to be a part of this situation. And again, this is as a means of her offering to be support and involved in and for Claudia. But Claudia lets her know, okay, well, me and Shanti, I mean, we just now forming this. Her classmate's response is, in so many words, oh, forget about her. Forget her. I'm trying to, again, in so many words, I can take her place. I can take on the position you and she are talking about. This is what Claudia's classmate is telling her. So she wants to treat Shanti's little position with disregard. I want to see how that's going to play out. You see what I mean? How is Claudia going to navigate that? Is she going to put forward any level of loyalty to Shanti since they just made this arrangement and agreement? Or is she going to more strongly embrace her former classmates' will to want to be involved with what Claudia does? Because Claudia even said that to her class. She's like, okay, but you don't know nothing about this. You ain't never had no dealings and no stuff like this. But her classmate is talking like, again, she's presenting the will like she wants to be like all in, so to speak, with whatever Claudia does and is doing. Because she is drawn to Claudia. That's what we see per episode 7. But is she going to continue to express that will and desire towards Claudia if Claudia allows her classmate to be drawn in more closely? You see what I'm saying? Or is her classmate gonna want to fall back once she gets a little more insight and perspective to how the game goes, how the drug game goes? So I'm interested in seeing that. And also, we see, again, I was saying this earlier and I stopped, about Shanti, how she's going in on Jannard, and how like we saw a swift transition in the position of her character and her interactions, right? So because she's positioning herself to, be a boss in the game, so to speak, and then she ends up sharing that information with Jannard. She literally shows him the bag that she just made along with Claudia. But I don't remember nor think that she told Jannard that she acquired that bag with Claudia. So with that being the case, we're going to see and again decide / predict how Shanti is going to navigate that, or just the progression of her relationship with Jannard. Now that she showed Jannard she just made this bag. And he's like, how you get that? Where's that coming from? And she's kind of like, it's kind of stupid to me, honestly speaking. It's stupid that she did that. Why are you it's like a kid running back to their parent. It's equivalent to a kid who didn't have permission to go outside from one of their parents. But they go outside anyway. And not only did they break that rule by going outside when they weren't supposed to, but they also acquired something, let's say some candy, that's bad for their health while they were outside. So you got two strikes against you. And so you come back in the house, the kid comes back in the house, and not only are they telling on themselves to their parents, they're also simultaneously bragging to that parent. Yeah, I know you didn't want me to go outside, but I went outside anyway. And while I was outside, I got this, and showing the candy. That to me is what Shanti showing Jannard the bag she just made with Claudia is equivalent to, right? So from that assessment, I'm interested in seeing, this is more of, again, I want to see versus me trying to predict how it's going to play out. But I want to see how it's going to play out between Shanti and Jannard's interaction. Is Jannard about to try to flip the power position on Shanti? Because remember, Shanti the one who just talked Jannard out of his transition away from his addiction, right? And he's on a successful path steering away from addiction. But is Shanti showing Jannard the bag she just made unbeknownst to him, that she even had an interest in doing so. And on top of the fact that she just did it, and again, she's throwing it up in his face. And oh, look what I did, look what I did. I feel like she did that as a means. Shanti did it as a means to seek validation from Jannard and acceptance from Jannard as far as, again, her starting to embark on this in partnership with Claudia. So I want to see, again, how Jannard is going to react to that. Is he going to try, again, to flip the power position that Shanti gave him the last episode or two and try to run/control Shanti? Is he going to try to prevent her in any way, shape, or form from continuing on this path that she just started by way of acquiring this bag that she just got with Claudia? I want to see how that goes. Or is Shanti going to, is she going to consider, okay, wait, I just talked this dude about his addiction, and if he don't want me to keep getting this bag that I just got, and I feel strongly about continuing to get it, if he don't want me to continue to get it, I'm going to separate myself from him and start brainstorming how to do Jannard in. You see? So those are possibilities. I want to see how those things play out. So yeah. So with all that being said, again, share your thoughts. I want to know what your thoughts are about these characters. Do you think that is generally bad acting that we're seeing on the screen on Book 4 Force? Because that's quite a bit of what, the social commentary is that I've seen popping up. Do you think it's bad acting? Put it in the comments and let me know. Do you think the character Diamond is too slow? Do you think it's not convincing? How do you feel about Shanti's character? How do you feel about Jannard's character? And again, how did he become an addict from season 1 up to season 2? How did that happen? That might be a little bit far-fetched to dig deep into, but if you have a thought about it, I want to know what your thought is. And yeah, I guess also, let me also bring up too real quick. I didn't like how, I think it was either per episode 3 or 4, because this was a drastic move, in my opinion, by the character Claudia. How she took out, it was so drastic, the means by which Claudia took out the scientist who was producing the drug. She rolled up on her on such ignorant and unsmart and drastic is not the word I really want to use, but that's what's coming to mind. She rolled up on the doctor with drastic terms. The doctor's character's name was Lauren. Claudia rolled up on the doctor after Vic called Claudia and let her know, okay, well, what's going on? This is some bullshit. Claudia's like, what are you talking about? He's like, the recipe for the drug is online. Take a look. And he hangs up on Claudia in a huff. Claudia does what Vic told her, and she checks online. And there is some formula that's listed online, supposedly, for how to make their, or the product. Next thing we see is Claudia rolling up into the lab where Lauren, the doctor, forcefully turned scientist, manufacturer, is. And Claudia just straight up accuses Lauren of, outing the recipe for the product. Lauren don't know what Claudia's talking about. And unreasonably, Claudia does not even actually confront Lauren about it. She just presents an accusation onto Lauren that she leaked the recipe. Why in the fuck would Lauren do that though? Because the last interaction Lauren had with Claudia, was her letting her know that, listen, this ain't my lifestyle. This ain't what I chose. Like, can you cut me loose? Like, that's basically what the conversation last had been between Lauren and Claudia. So now all of a sudden, Claudia assumes that Lauren posted the recipe for the drug. So not only was it bothersome to me that Claudia rolled up on her the way she did and ended up shooting her and taking her out, but that we didn't even see no follow-up to whether or not Lauren actually leaked the recipe online for real. We haven't seen any indication, any proof that Lauren did that. We haven't seen any indication of who actually did post the recipe for Dahlia. And that's a little irritating to me, because I feel like that's a silent question. That's an underlying question that deserves an answer. Because, when we saw that scene of Claudia taking Lauren out, as a viewer, to me, that felt like that was unjustified shooting. I didn't feel like Lauren actually did that shit. I really didn't. Because, again, like, why would she? As if she couldn't connect the dots and recognize that if she actually was going to do something like that, that her life is easily at stake to be ended. So anyway, again, let me know what your thoughts are about all of these things in the comments. Make sure that you like this video, like this episode, share this episode so you can trade opinions with anybody else who's been watching Book 4-4s, anybody else who's been watching Ready to Love, anybody else who might want to watch Ready to Love Make a Move, and all the other topics as far as relationship shit goes. Share your thoughts and opinions, and again, share this video with others so y'all can exchange and have conversation about it. Make sure you follow my IG profile, again, GOLDNDARK_DAME. That's Golden Dark Dame on IG. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to this page so you can remain in the loop with #1 self-proclaimed DC Power Universe fan, which would be me, Golden Dark Dame. And check me out for the next episode.